You're listening to Passing Time, a Detroit Lions podcast. We're one pride and all grit, with a passion for Detroit Lions football. Whether you're between meetings, between classes, sitting in traffic, or just relaxing at home, if you have time to pass, pass it with Passing Time. Detroit Lions Talk.
All right, and we're on the clock. You're passing time with us, a Detroit Lions podcast. I'm Rob.
I'm Brian.
Thanks for tuning in. This is episode number 9. Off the back of an emergency pod where we talked a lot about one thing.
Frank.
And,
Tear.
And to be frank,
sad.
It's very sad. Yeah, it's very sad.
Yep.
Today's podcast, we're going to get into some OTA stuff. We're going to talk about player coaches interviews. We're going to introduce a new fun thing we're going to do over the next 9 weeks where we discuss week by week. Brian and I are going to go through the last 10 years of first-round picks. We're going to talk about our favorite first-round picks.
Yeah. And then next week we'll talk about our second, and the week after our third.
Third round.
Third
round. We're going to go all the way through round 7. And then week 8, we're going to talk about the best unsigned free agents that the Lions picked over the last 10 years.
Yeah, let's look at what the Lions have done.
It's going to be fun. We're getting to the doldrums right now. So there's going to be some OTA stuff that we're going to pick up here and there. You're going to get some Frank news that pops in. But we're gonna string this along to the season with some fun activities.
And if there's anything that you want to talk about, any questions you may have, pop them in the comments. We'll get after those as well.
No doubt, yeah. So then we're gonna get into Bill's bullet points. Bill's he's a little salty, a little sour this week. A couple things happened. He might be the guy at Wall Street saying sell right now, and we're going to tell you why. Maybe we're at least a hold or buy.
And ultimately, the Frank news is hard on all of us, and we're going to shed a tear. But like Dan Campbell says, hey, that train keeps rolling. So
yeah, and we're going to do a quick breeze around the north. We'll probably talk about a lot of the same things around there. But with all that being said, let's get into it. Around the NFL, today's news, most notably, we're filming this. This is Thursday, a little after 10 o'clock. So Aaron Rodgers signs a 1-year deal with Pittsburgh. It's the reaction here for you.
I am so excited that we get to play Pittsburgh this year because, he boosts our defensive stats. I think that he's lost a step, to say the least, and the Lions have his number. So
this is great. Yeah. The contract isn't fully released. The speculation is it's $10 million for the year. And Terry Bradshaw says, "Go eat bark." You know what? $10 million you get a good tour to Dark Cave for $10 million though to eat some bark.
And Terry wants the best for his franchise. He does not want to see them go downhill with a guy like Aaron Rodgers. I mean, the stature of the Steelers, the character of the Steelers, and now you're signing the guy that might take all that away.
The sad thing is, Terry, you guys had nothing else. Right? So it's like this guy might be the patch.
Your options are slim, right?
Yeah.
And so,
I mean, the second best option might be Terry Bradshaw. So, or the next guy. So, other news: Derek Carr officially retires.
It's official.
Officially. So,
okay.
I think the New Orleans Saints sent him a card saying, "Man, hey, help us out here. We are in cap hell, and if you officially retire and you forego some of this contract, we actually get into like cap purgatory, not cap hell." So,
there's that question mark on where they're going to fall in the future. But gosh, they are in a rough shape moving forward, regardless of what Derek Carr is going to do.
Forgoes $30 million on the cap, which is a big number. That's going to be a big help to the New Orleans Saints. Maybe the last bit of news around the NFL, they talked a lot about the Panthers and the trade that they were getting from the Rams to move up to get Ted McMillan or T-Mac or whatever he wants to be called. Very lucrative trade. Essentially, the Panthers were not willing to move off this pick, basically signaling he's a guy that they really believe in.
And he's one of those guys could be a game changer for them. But, I mean, if you look at what they have right now, they're not ready to win now. So it would have been smart for them to get a bunch of picks, being able to to package those, be able to get somebody in the future in order to surround their team. Is that what they would have been best for them, or is one wide receiver going to make or break their franchise?
I don't know if smart is synonymous with the Panthers franchise right now, right? Like they took a wide receiver in the first round last year. They're trying to salvage the Bryce Young pick.
Yeah,
they got a lot of things going on in the front office.
and it just looks like a bunch of guys trying to save themselves a job, right? And at this point, Bryce Young might be where they're hinging their cart to, and if he does well, then maybe they stick around for a little bit longer, and if he doesn't, then they're out.
But looking at the speculation was that the Panthers were going to get the 26th pick in the first round, the Rams' second round pick, their third round pick, and their fourth round pick. This could have been retribution for the terrible trade that they made with the Bears a couple years ago,
geez,
right? Like,
yeah.
So they could have basically had a Uno reverse here and got out of that situation for Ted McMillan, and they could have got somebody halfway decent in the back end of the first round, in the second round, in the third round.
They decided against it, and so Panthers doing Panther things, continuing their route down probably purgatory. We can put them in that same boat. So
it's interesting. And maybe they're right though. Maybe T-Mac, Ted McMillan, whatever he wants to be called, is going to be the real deal, and we have to wait to kind of see.
We'll have to wait. I'm not sure. I mean, we're in OTAs right now. Is he making those plays with his pajamas on, or is he going to be able to do the real thing once the pads go on?
Hey, that's a Dan Campbell quote right there. So let's get into kind of segment one. Talk a little bit about OTAs, and some news that kind of came out from there. During some Dan Campbell interviews, we found out that Rodrigo is going to be out probably for a while, conservatively, till around Thanksgiving time.
And you look at what Rodrigo brings. Rodrigo isn't necessarily one of your starters now, but he is a huge depth piece. And last year was vital to us once a bunch of those guys started to get hurt. And bringing a guy like him, who is a solid player, he's going to make solid tackles, he's going to be able to cover somewhat, but ultimately just lock down as a solid backup role. Not having him is gonna hurt, because then you're gonna have to rely on guys like Zach Cunningham, and you're gonna have to rely on guys like Zeke Turner, and you're gonna have to rely on guys that we brought in off of practice squads. But hopefully come week 9, 10, 11, he gets healthy.
I mean, I think the future is a little bit murky. He's been a guy that kind of came off the blocks. He's a Dan Campbell guy. He runs through the wall, but I think he's very limited physically, athletically. And if you talk about, the Lions being a Super Bowl contender, coming back from this injury, it might be tough for him to crack a spot.
And he's going into the final years of his contract. And is he going to be a guy that's going to be a casualty to what we want to build here? We got a lot. We drafted well. Yeah. We got a lot of guys that we're going to have to want to bring back. I just don't know if he makes that cut.
Yeah. Another noteworthy thing is let's talk about JMO. I finally have two things in common with Jameson Williams. We both bet in the building, and we both gained 5 pounds. Yeah, he's looking thicker, stronger, faster, which I don't have in common. But I mean, guys, if we go back a couple pods ago, breakout player Jameson Williams, and the hype couldn't be bigger than right now.
And you're hearing it from coaches, you're hearing it from players, you're hearing it from his fans, you're like beat writers, they're talking about JMO. And let's be honest, like Amon-Ra's he's in the building, but he's not in the field right now. Tim Patrick is there and he's getting reps as well. Tesla's not getting reps, he's off to the side working. So JMO's featured. So they're feeding JMO the ball, but he's rising to that occasion. He's making plays. He's being a vet in the building. He's talking about how he is a leader now. He's moving away from that rookie mentality. Other guys are asking him questions, and he has the answers.
He talked about it a little bit, and we'll get into some of the player interviews, but he talked about that he feels this year for him, it's the first year he's transitioning from kind of being a rookie or a young guy to being a vet. And you can kind of see that look in his eye where he understands that he is moving into the latter part of his deal. He's got a contract coming up. And you could see the hunger in his eyes where, I mean, maybe the money signs in his eyes where he's like, hey, this is a big year for me.
And that very well may be, but J-Mo continues to talk about he just wants to win.
Yeah.
He just wants to win. He wants to do what he has to do in order to support the guys around him so that this team can win. And I love that mentality because it puts the money aside. It means I got to play football. I'm a football player, and I'm going to go off and do the best that I possibly can. And I'm going to support the guys around me. So I think those are all pieces that we want on this Detroit Lions team.
He did mention that, hey, for the first time in my career, I'm able to answer questions for young guys. I was the guy always asking the questions. Now I'm answering the questions for the young guys. So,
and also it's cool because he's not giving up on who he is either. He's not changing J-Mo. He's still this fun, charismatic, kind of goofy, kind of youngish, youthful kind of feel to him. He's still exciting. He wants to dance. He wants to do all those TikTok, I don't know, those fun little things that they do, but he's not sacrificing the play on the field.
Yeah, he has an immaturity or a funness to him, but physically he's maturing. Football-wise, he's maturing, and that's got to translate, right?
And let's just hope that the decision-making is maturing as well, that these technicalities that he kind of got knocked for and nicked for all the way around, he kind of matures through those.
Yeah. Hey, let's talk about a guy that's also got something in common with me, always injured, but right now not injured and looking very good with Davenport.
Davenport, listen, all I'm hearing from Davenport is he's healthy. He's healthy as he's ever been. Physically, he is as strong as he's ever been. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, let's be honest, this is all you hear coming out of training camps or off the offseason and going into OTAs is these guys are bigger and stronger than they've ever been. I truthfully believe that Davenport is. Not only that, but that constantly talk about he can't stay healthy, that's the motivation that I think that he really needs in order to contribute.
I think the last two guys we talked about right here are two guys that are highly probable to break out this year. And if they do, it erases a lot of concerns that we have going into this season.
Listen, he's my hot take, right? And I'll stand by my hot take with Davenport because if he is what we think he can be, if he can stay healthy, he is the edge across from Hutch that everybody's been just clamoring for. Yeah. He is the guy that everybody – let's trade for Hendrickson because I know we want to talk about him again. Let's go out and get a Max Crosby. We don't need those guys. Would they be nice? Yes. But Davenport's in the building. He is cost-effective, and he is motivated. That's a recipe for success.
Yeah. Listen, you didn't hear it first, but Brian and I are telling you that this is going to be a guy that's going to play a full season and crush for your Lions. Like, this is going to be a guy at the end of the year, you're going to say, sorry, I was pretty hard on this guy for being hurt last year. He was a very, very good player. And also, he'll put to rest the Trey Hendrickson talk that we had to have for the last few episodes.
Forever, right? They're still happening. Happening. ESPN's coming out with those, here's how Trey is going to come to the Lions.
So, hey, the Canadian coaches talked a little bit about Manu. They said when he got drafted, they really thought that he is a tackle, but probably a guard. And he's out there right now playing tackle, but he has some position flexibility. But he's looking pretty good right now in OTAs.
He's still looking good. He's still young in his development. What I've heard is he's more of a block like engulfer or a catcher than he is like stalemate, and stop you in your tracks. And that's something he's gonna have to work with his hands, work with his feet, his leverage and his level. Those are all things that he's gonna have to continue to battle because he's a big dude. But athlete, yes, he is an athlete, and he is going to continue to grow. From all I'm hearing is it's night and day different from when he came into training camp and OTAs last year. So it's definitely good to hear that Manu is taking those steps because let's be honest, we're going to need depth. And going back, losing Frank, going from a rich man or rich team problems to maybe we have some depth issues.
Yeah.
he's going to have to be a guy that fills in one of those gaps.
We can get through it, yeah. So Isaac Tesla, he is stuck at 11:59 and 59 seconds because he doesn't drop the ball. You get it?
I missed it. You went right over my head.
The New Year's ball drop. He doesn't. But the note here is from the Lions, from Arkansas, from Hillsdale, from Tri-Unity is the guy has sure hands. It's just not dropping balls. He's going to be a guy that goes out there and just can pick it.
And that's a great feature or skill to start with. And now we're going to continue to work with his hands off the line, his footwork off the line, his ability to get off of press coverage, his ability to get open and separation, his route tree. Those are things that easily can be taught, but when you're a natural hands catcher, that puts you a step above. And it just gives you an advantage to some of those other guys that are catching with the body and have to work through that. I remember back in J-Mo's rookie season watching him catch every ball against his body, and we had big concerns about him and drops. And let's be honest, we don't want a guy that's going to drop. If we can create any separation, catch the ball away from your body with your hands, that's going to give us an advantage. It's going to give Jared Goff an advantage and give this offensive an advantage.
And J-Mo can get away with that from a prospect standpoint because his quick twitch and his speed is so above average. Tesla, he's had to hone some different skills, though his RAS score, his athletic ability is way above average. He just didn't have quite the quick twitch that J-Mo has as a wide receiver.
That twitch is off the line is I don't want to say slow because he's still a fast guy, but it's just different, right? And so he's a big, long, strong guy. He's going to use that to his advantage, where J-Mo used his speed to his advantage. So.
No doubt.
Yep.
So let's talk a little bit about player pressers. Goff came out, didn't say much. I mean, it was very much like coach speak. Cool, confident, expects to take a step forward is kind of the note I got.
And he's like, hey, there's going to be more on me. It's still getting to know John Morton, getting to know our ins and outs, our likes, what we don't like, how we work together, who we're going to feature, how we're going to feature them, how we're going to get into those spots when we find a weakness, how we're going to exploit it. And that's what you want to hear. He talked about, it's the minutiae of the details that he is working on right now versus what he worked on 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Right now we're working on, hey, in this specific play, this is where I want my arm angle versus, up here versus down here. Just simple little things that, we can't necessarily pick up on as everyday fans, but he is now going down to the smallest of details in order to improve.
So you got almost like another coordinator there with Jared Goff. I mean, the way he's thinking about the game, he's thinking past himself. He's really working on his own details, but also he's thinking about the offense and translation.
And that's not only is that going to help us with a new coordinator, that's also going to help us with a new center because he's going to help make calls, blocking, sliding protections. He's going to look up and find those blitzing linebackers. He's going to be able to identify those things. And he's a pro. He is a veteran. He's seen it all at this point, and he's going to be able to help whoever, whether it's Tate Ratledge or Graham Glasgow or Michael Neese or whoever, at that center position. He's going to help make those calls. He's going to help ease, that transition.
And do you think that Frank Ragnow has the bridges aren't burned here, right? So he might be out catching fish during, a couple days, but if a center has some questions with this guy, he's going to show up. He's going to be in the facility. He's going to be in the building. Him and Campbell are still tight. Him and the team are still tight.
Yep.
He's going to be around as, almost an outside counsel for the Detroit Lions.
And, there's the aspirations and dreams and the hopes that he's like, hey, maybe he's a Teddy Bridgewater who down the road, he's like, you know what, I'm feeling good enough to come in and give you a game or two in the playoffs, or I'll stay in shape and we'll see where we're at. I mean, my aspiration for that are zero, but, it's the dreams and the glimmers are still there.
He's 29.
But, could I see him coming in and being a coach? Maybe. I mean, I think that might be right up his alley, or at least to help guide some of these young centers in the right direction, that could be like right up his alley.
No doubt, yeah. So DJ Reed, first time I really saw him in an interview with the Detroit Lions, wearing number 4. What stood out to me was he just said top to bottom, from coaches, facilities, nutritionists to process. Detroit is top of the notch. He's not seen anything like what Detroit has. And you're starting to hear some reverberations of that, not just from him, from other people, but it's really good to hear from a guy that's done it in other places.
And he's doing that from a leadership standpoint as well. He's not only speaking good about the organization, but he's speaking good about his teammates too, and lifting those guys up. You've heard of, man, I can't wait to work with Kirby. I can't wait to work with Branch. I can't.
Well, he called him the best. He's like the best 2 safeties I've ever seen.
And then he calls Amik Robertson the best nickel corner in the game. And then he's talking such great things about TA and talking great things about Ennis. And he's talking about like this room that he has. He's like, we're going to be top notch.
And he said Shep's an alpha. He just straight up was like, Shep's an alpha. He's my coach. And he talked a little bit about talking to the new coach of the Jets on his way out over there. You know, obviously leaving the Jets. But he said it was highly endorsed. He's like, you're going to go to Detroit. You're going to thrive. This is a place you're going to have fun. You're going to work hard, and you're going to win.
Gosh, I mean, that to me gets me excited. It kind of gives me those little tingles that you hear DJ Reed coming in here. You saw him ranked 6th overall in the DB room by PFF. Carlton Davis down to 18. You know, these are exciting things. These leadership qualities that he's bringing, the play that he's bringing to the field, the lifting up of others, the guidance of the young guys, just makes you feel like we are going in the right direction, at least in that room specifically.
Also, you see him up on he's sitting up on his chair, not like us. He's looking GQ. He's chiseled. He's confident. He's got this very, very humble confidence to him. He is
we're not chiseled. Okay,
none of us are chiseled up here, but no, and we can spell GQ, but that's about as close as proximity we get to that. Speaking of somebody, let's talk about maybe non-GQ. Jack Campbell went up there, and he looks like Dan Campbell's little brother from another mother. Like the dude looks like 20 years his junior, but he's just the same cutout. Dan Campbell.
He is just like, all right, ask me questions. Let me get out of here as soon as I possibly can. I'll answer them straight line, quick and easy. I'll give you the answers you're looking for, and then I'm going to move on. He does not look like he is comfortable at all in that chair, nor does he want to be there for longer than he has to.
He's an Iowa guy, man. I bet he'd be a lot more comfortable on Frank Ragnow's boat fishing for grouper than he would be in front of a microphone.
The Grizzly Man podcast, you know, he'd be definitely okay catching that, 30-pound, snapper out off the coast.
No doubt. But he talked about, hey, he's in touch with Alex. Like, we're cool. It's going to be fine. He talked about the resilience of the Lions last year where, he basically said, hey, Thursday when we played the Packers, we had guys that showed up on Monday. Yeah. We were so injured. We had guys that showed up on Monday. We still went out and kicked the Packers' ass, right? Like, he is confident. He understands what's going on. Not in front of a microphone confident, but in front of a quarterback confident.
And he's a guy that's gaining that confidence, getting the green dot. He's leading the center of that defense. And, I mean, Alex here or there, he is still going to play a hard-nosed Iowa Lions-like football, and he's gonna lock it down there for us. Yeah. And if you want to get into the Alex talk, you saw the videos that come out and the cryptic tweets. The reality is Alex wasn't at OTAs last year, and we didn't have this speculation of him being disgruntled or upset about contracts. Does he want more money? That's the question. He might, but the Lions are going to do the right thing to him. They're going to figure it out, and whether they're going to draw a hard line and say, hey, yes, we're willing to give you this, but no more than this, or hey, either play out your contract or the train's going to keep moving, just like Frank Ragnow. Okay, they're not going to stop to let Alex on. They're going to keep going and hope that he jumps on for himself.
It's the next man up mentality. That's just like it's all it is, and I think the culture around there is like people, they understand. Like, hey, like the leverage is in favor of the organization, not in favor of the player. Versus if you go to another organization, we already picked on the Carolina Panthers.
Right.
You can go around the league and say that the leverage there is going to be with the player over the organization, but the Lions have a precedent here.
Right. And then we can get into the Grant Stewarts, who are coming on speaking nothing but praises to the Lions. We're in OTAs right now, no pads, and he's talking about the intensity that is coming to each and every practice. Those types of things that the Lions are doing, they're doing it right.
Yeah, you think this podcast is intense.
Woo!
I wonder what those OTAs feel like. And you know what? If Jameson Williams is in front of the microphone, it's must-see TV. When JMO talks, with all the whimsicalness of that guy, he is just an entertaining, he's a fun-loving, he's got a $1 million smile, right? Like he's just a good human being to listen to.
Did you see his post on social media about trying to get the ladies over to this party?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I'm sure he got his DMs filled. Okay.
Yeah.
With that smile, he's all excited. Oh, they're filling up those DMs.
If you go back in my social media when I'm Jameson Williams Day, I am doing something to try to get the ladies to come over to my party too. There's no doubt. Also rocking the number one in his press conference. He's like,
look. You look skinny.
Yeah. But 5 pounds heavier.
Yeah. Yep.
But when I say how I look in front of my wife, she's like, "You look like you should get a large shirt, not a medium shirt." So, because you're 5 pounds heavier. But super fun-loving, lighthearted guy, and I think he really expects a breakout from himself. I think he has this quiet confidence where he's coming out of his shell, saying, "You know what? This year is going to be my year.
This is going to be my year." And we talked about at the beginning of the pod, man. He's not the only one that expects that. Like everybody around him is seeing what he sees, and he's going to do great things.
I'm going to preface this by 1-800-GAMBLER. Okay, if you're going to take this advice, call that number. But I don't know what the over/under number with receptions or yards is with him, or all-purpose yards for that matter, because he's a guy that can run the ball. But I think we got to start chugging that over a little bit.
Take the over.
Yep. Yeah, but don't. We are not consultants for gambling.
Consultant for gambling. Please take this advice at your own risk.
Hey, next topic. This is gonna be fun. We're gonna do this for 8 more weeks, 8 more years. We're gonna do this podcast for 8 more years, but we're gonna do this for 8 more weeks. Basically, what we're gonna do is we're gonna look at the last 10 years, and we're gonna look at each round. First round this week, second round next week, third round, so on.
Mm-hmm.
And then after the 7th round, we're gonna look at the unsigned free agents at the end of the draft, and we're going to say, where were the Lions' best and worst picks, and maybe some honorable mentions, and maybe we'll even go back a couple years, just because there are some notable areas where the Lions had some good picks. 2024 is going to be the start of this list, so we're not going to talk about 2025. We're not going to project him into the Hall of Fame yet.
All right.
Though my father-in-law probably would if he was the Bears and he was a quarterback. So 2024, Lions took Terrion Arnold. 2023, Jahmyr Gibbs, Jack Campbell. 2022, Aiden, J-Mo. 2021, Sewell. 2020, Jeff Okudah. We'll talk about that later. TJ Hawkinson in 19. 2018, Frank Ragnow. Seemed like yesterday. Jared Davis, 2017. Taylor Decker still holding it strong. In 2015, Laken Tomlinson. So, Brian, last 10 years, who you got for the Lions' kind of best picks?
So the best picks that I see in the last 10 years, I think it's probably chalk to say Penei Sewell has to be the top of that list. The guy has been here for 4 years, 3 Pro Bowls, 2 first-team All-Pros, was getting votes for Offensive Player of the Year this last year. The dude is a beast, all right? And ultimately, without him locking down, that edge of our offensive line, where would we be? We'd be hurting. Let's be honest. The dude is throwing passes and catching passes. Okay, he does it all.
Yeah.
What other offensive lineman are you seeing, doing what he does?
He's a cornerstone player. He's a vicious run blocker, elite athlete. He's an emotional tone setter for the Lions.
Yep.
I'm right there with you. But we could throw an honorable mention here.
You can throw Hutch in. Hutch is also like last year should have been defensive player of the year. I mean, he's a perennial Pro Bowl guy. He is. I mean, he's the on the other side of the ball, the edge setter, the pressure getter, the do it all defensive player. I mean, we were definitely hurt without an Aiden Hutchinson last year.
And you know what? He's a chip off the old Dan Campbell block too.
Yep.
He's just he's a culture setter. He's a hard worker. There's not a lot of frills to this guy except go out, work hard, get results. 21 sacks, 4 interceptions in 2 seasons. Leader on the field, leader off the field. Does not disappear in big moments either. We've seen some big games where he shows up,
and that's what he does. I mean, you remember 2 years ago the Bears sack, fumble, recovery in the end zone, kind of. I mean, those are the big moments that you hope your best players show out, and he does.
And I'm so glad we're not sitting here diagnosing Trayvon Walker because the Jacksonville Jaguars took Aiden Hutchinson. Man, that was a
blessing, right? I mean, I was sweating thinking that they were going to take Aiden right away, and it fell right into our lap.
We went very chalky there, but we could also talk about Frank Ragnow in 2018 being a very, very high honorable mention pick, or Jahmyr Gibbs. Super controversial. We could just have all the crow, right? And then all the beat reporters eating it because this guy is. But
you also look at a guy that maybe not got the accolades, but played a solid left tackle for us for years now. I mean, 9 years. 1 Pro Bowl option or appearance. Taylor Decker. Again, a cornerstone of what we had when the Lions weren't great, and saw that transition until where we are today.
Yeah, Taylor Decker's like, what year was he drafted? Taylor Decker was drafted in 2016. He's a 2016 Chevy Silverado. Just reliable. Like, it's going to get you to work every single day. And you don't know what you got until you bought that 2025 Silverado and it's in the shop and it's like, hey, this computer chip's out. It's $2,500. This is out. It's $3,500. And you're pissed off. It's like, I want to go back to the 2016 Taylor Decker Silverado, right? Like that.
That's right.
That is what he is, man. Like,
couldn't have said it better. That's good work.
So, hey, can we talk a little bit about like where the Lions might have missed over the last 10 years?
Sure. I would say my number one in the last 10 has to be Jared Davis. We saw Jared Davis come in, and the hopes and dreams is this as a sideline to sideline linebacker who's going to come in. He's going to change the game for us. He's going to be able to make plays in the passing game. He's going to be able to rush off the edge. He's going to be able to lock down those backs out of the backfield. And I can't say that we got all of our money's worth there.
Yeah, he had a decent career, but what could have been if TJ Watt was drafted or Tre'Davious White was drafted? I mean, a shutdown corner or a defensive end that just wrecked games, right? Like it would have, could have, should have.
It would definitely have made us a little bit different going into those years. Would we have been able to overcome some of the tribulations that we saw in those dark years of the Detroit Lions? That's hard to say.
And if you're listening right now and you're like, I know the name you're thinking, last 10 years, you're like, well, what about Jeff Okudah? Hey, I feel you. I'm right there with you. So I'm thinking Jeff Okudah. I mean, it's rare you see a cornerback go that high. The Lions took a massive swing, and you want this guy to be a 12-year lockdown corner, making all pros. And he's floating around the NFL, and teams are still taking the same flyer the Lions took on him.
Because he was a first-round pick, because he has the Jeff Okudah name, because they're still, hey, I can fix that guy. He still has the traits that you look for. He just doesn't necessarily have the play.
And how did he leave the Lions? They traded him for a day 3 pick. Yeah. And what could have been, we could have reset. This is pie in the sky stuff, but we could have had Justin Herbert. We could have Tristan Wirfs. There's a lot of guys the Lions could have had right there that really could have been cornerstone players. And yes, we had Matthew Stafford, and yes, that would have looked a little bit premature to reset the quarterback trade. But hey, there were guys out there that were franchise changers, and we really swung and missed there.
Yep.
Honorable mention here, just for fun, we talked about Frank Ragnow being on the other end of the list. What if they took Lamar Jackson instead of Frank Ragnow in the year Frank Ragnow was taken? Yeah.
That's an interesting thought, man. I mean, Lamar Jackson is a definitely franchise changer. But having a Matthew Stafford who could arguably be one of the best first round picks that the Detroit Lions have ever taken.
If we went further back, it'd be hard to argue.
It'd be hard. I mean, you have your Barrys, you have your Calvins. You can go as far back as Alex Karras in 1958. But the reality is Matthew Stafford is still playing quarterback at a high level. Not necessarily for the Lions, but he's still playing a quality quarterback position, which is one of the hardest positions ever to play in sports. So
do me a huge favor. If you're watching this and you remember Alex Karras in 1958,
they're not watching YouTube. All right, I'm just gonna say, if you know or if you saw Alex Karras, you're not watching YouTube.
Oh man, that's great. That's great. Yeah, you got to throw it back a little bit though. Huh?
Yeah, you got to do it. Somebody that I have to mention, back in 2015.
Oh, don't do it.
Ndamukong Suh. Ndamukong Suh, like probably the reason that DeAndre Levy got paid, right? So reality is one of the best, first round draft picks that the Detroit Lions made.
Do you think DeAndre Levy sends him a Christmas card every year?
I think so. Probably just a bonus. Hey, just wanted to say thank you. Here you go.
Oh, that'd be great. Hey, we are filming this in front of a live studio audience, and there's a feud going on right now. But we'll talk about that in future episodes. Hey, segment 4, Bill's bullet points. Brian, you talked to Bill. Bill's he's pretty fired up right now.
Well, it's hard because when the sky's falling, you either put up your umbrella or you work your way through it. And I think Bill is struggling to work his way through it right now. Not to say that he can't. I mean, he's still a fan and he still loves the Lions. But when you see a talent like Frank Ragnow step away and your replacement is going to now be a rookie or a guy that, let's be honest, Graham didn't have his best of years last year. Those are your two options. And when you look at the success rate of when Frank Ragnow was in the system, when he was on the field, we're looking at 10% more production than when he was off the field. Like that's a huge. So we're going from success rate of 3rd in the NFL to the success rate of 23rd in the NFL. That's a big deal. And so now we're trying to replace that with a guy that doesn't have that same pedigree, who is either a rookie or he didn't have his best season. So what is that going to look like for the Lions?
There's no doubt. There's going to be a change in the guard. There's going to be some growing pains, but there's some draft capital invested, not only this year, what we've talked about, there's some draft capital invested last year. There's a lot of time here.
The best thing that Frank did for us, and like you can't fault Frank for stepping away. His body was battered. He was injured. We talked about it in our emergency pod. It was the right time for him to step away. Well, the best thing he did for the Lions was step away at this time so that we had time to prepare. He communicated this with the Lions. You saw that in what they've done in the draft. You saw that in what they've done in rookie minicamp and OTAs. You saw their already steps in progression and preparation. And so the Lions know what they're doing. They're going to do the best they can to fill those roles. And it's not going to be a Frank Ragnow. Okay, we're not going to do that right away. Tate Ratledge will not be Frank Ragnow right away, but he's going to be the best Tate Ratledge he can be. So,
and we talked about let's talk a little bit about what other guys the Lions could sign around the NFL, and basically, there's not a lot, right? They're going to put a couple fillers in. They're going to give them small contracts to incentivize them to make the roster to get paid. The chances are very, very unlikely that the last signing or future signings are going to make the roster and get paid. So we have what we have right here, and we're okay.
And the best place to look to replace Frank is in the building already.
Yeah.
And so we've already started the groundwork. We're already working through this. We're already preparing, and I think we're going to be okay for it.
To be frank, it's time to move on. It's time to go. Yep. So with that said, let's go around the north a little bit. So it's a slow news cycle here. Going to Chicagoland. Basically, it's boom or bust with Caleb Williams. He's turning heads at minicamp, impressing his head coach Ben Johnson. The Bears have bolstered their offensive line. They got an all-pro guard they signed. Caleb Williams was sacked 68 times last year. It's going to be a tough job here, a Houdini job for Ben Johnson.
And you look at what Ben Johnson had last year, one of the best offenses in the NFL, versus what the Bears had last year, one of the worst offenses in the NFL. The thought process is it's going to level out, right? They're going to find themselves probably somewhere in the middle. They're not going to be as bad as they were last year, but they're definitely not going to be as good as they were with the Lions. So that's what I'm foreseeing. Will they make huge, drastic steps and become the biggest and best thing? I don't believe it. Are they going to be better than they were? That's what I believe.
Yeah, it remains to be seen. It can't get worse than it was last year offensively.
But as a Lions fan, I hope it does.
Yes, there's no doubt about that. And Green Bay land, Romeo Doubs. Is it redemption, or is he going to be replaced?
You look at what Matthew Golden is bringing to the table, and you see speed and agility, and is he going to be the guy? So
they signed Mecole Hardman. The Packers aren't a team that brings in a ton of free agents, right? Like a lot of these guys are, make the roster, don't get paid anyways, but they have a ton of mediocre wide receivers, mediocre plus wide receivers on the team.
Yeah,
it'll be interesting to see kind of who makes the team.
Definitely a logjam there, just kind of who's going to rise to the top.
I think one thing with the Packers, Isaiah Simmons could be a chess piece for them, though. A very versatile linebacker, hasn't fully tapped his potential in his rookie deal. Came out of Clemson, didn't know if he was going to play safety, linebacker, defensive end, kind of settled in at linebacker. So he's a chess piece. And the Packers have a lot of chess pieces. Rashawn Gary is a guy that kind of floats around. They have a ton of chess pieces on that team, and he could be a small difference maker for them defensively.
Absolutely. But you look at what the Green Bay Packers have done this offseason is they didn't get bigger. They actually got smaller across their defense. They wanted it to be faster. They wanted to be able to go sideline to sideline. But how does that match up against other teams in the NFC North? And I'm going to tell you, as a Lions guy, get smaller, get faster, because we're just going to pound you. I'm going to give the ball to David Montgomery behind Penei Sewell, and we're going to get 3 to 4 yards a pop, and I'm going to be matriculating that ball down the field in a cloud of dust.
No doubt. And then when we talk about the Vikings, it really comes down to. I don't want to talk about it for 13 podcasts in a row, but
what are you going to talk about, JJ?
Are they rebuilding? Are they rebranding? Are they
listen, they're not rebranding. They're basically going to be who they were last year in hopes that JJ moves them forward. And this all hinges on not necessarily a rookie, but a first-year quarterback in the NFL. And if you look at what Jaden Daniels did, or if you look at what C.J. Stroud did 2 years ago, the possibility is there. Is he going to be that guy? Is he going to be able to be that dynamic, or is he going to be more of the norm? Yeah. So, you just got to you wonder what that's going to look like. Do I believe J.J. McCarthy has the abilities to be great? Yes. Do I think he's going to be great in year one? No.
I think it's year 2 for JJ.
Year 2-ish.
Yeah, year 1.5. Let's call it. I think the biggest news of the Vikings is the fact that they put the middle finger to Aaron Rodgers, and they said, "Hey, go sign with Pittsburgh," because Aaron Rodgers saw the weapons that Minnesota had.
That's where he wanted to be.
He wanted to follow that whole Packer to the Jets to the Vikings path that has already been
that Brett Favre.
Yeah.
All right.
And then you're going to have to fight the state of Mississippi after that, because that's how the path ends, and that's not very good. But the Vikings are confident. They got their guy. They went out and got, Howell as a good backup. They feel pretty comfortable, and they're going to be a formidable opponent this year.
And absolutely, and that's a testament to JJ and a testament to the Vikings to be able to hitch their wagon to him and say, hey, you're a guy. Lead us there.
Yeah. It's going to be a crazy North this year. It's going to be an absolutely crazy North.
Absolutely. I mean,
winter's coming.
we see the schedules about all these teams. We see the moves that all these teams made. Everybody's getting better. And where do the Lions fall now after retooling that offensive line, retooling our coordinators, having that schedule? All these things kind of come into play, but the Lions still have the most weapons. They have a great defense when healthy. So those two things, I can't yet pass on the torch to a Green Bay, a Vikings, or a Bears yet, because the Lions are still the champions of the North and are still there to be beaten.
We just got this torch. We got a full tank of gas here. And we're running with this torch for a while. The Lions defense is going to step up this year. Offense might take a small step back, but this defense is talented. They're healthy. Last year they had everything thrown at them between injuries.
And they have a Dan Campbell. All right, let's not forget that the leader in the locker room, the leader on the sideline, is still here and still there and still will continue to push whatever buttons he needs to in order to get these guys to do the right thing. He's saying the right thing. He's like, I love the schedule. We're going to be battered and we're going to be bruised, but we're going to be prepared moving into the playoffs. He doesn't care whether we're playing Monday night, Thursday night, Sunday night, in Texas, in London, or at home. He's like, this is the schedule the way it's at. We're going to play the games that are on it. We're going to do the best that we can with it. And we're going to do it with the guys that are in this room, and we're going to make sure that we do that at our best.
Brian, I want to run through a break.
Let's go!
Let's go. Hey, that's the clock. Thanks for tuning in with us. We really appreciate you. Please help us get on the algorithm. Like, subscribe, comment. Engage with us a little bit.
Yep.
We're going to go into next week talking about round 2 draft picks. Tell us what we missed round 1. Tell us what you like round 2. Let's get this thing rolling for next week.
Interact with us on social medias. You'll see it there, either Twitter, X, Blue Sky, YouTube.
The Everything app, X, formerly known as Twitter. Yeah,
wherever you find your podcast, we're there for you. Like and subscribe, help us out, and we'll see you next time.
While this sound winds down, I just want you to think about Aiden Hutchinson walking into the training camp wearing his stepbrother's shirt with Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jared Goff on it. All right, so it's there for you to look at right now.
Let's go.
Cheers. I'm Brian.
You're
He's
Brian.
Rob. Thanks.